Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Posh Teacher. We're very excited that you're here with us, and I have a very special guest. We have Kathy is going to be sharing her wonderful experiences in the life of education and other things as well. So we're very excited and honored to have her. Kathy, welcome to our program.
Thank you, Carla. It's my pleasure.
Well, Kathy, we always start here at Posh Teacher with the question, what was your aha moment that you decided to become a teacher? Was there something in your life that triggered that wanting to become a teacher?
You know, I think that it happened when I was about 6 or 7. We lived in the same block as the school. And so every spring every September, like coming up this time of year, it happened to be a Catholic school when I was in elementary school. And every year this time of year, the nuns would be back in the classrooms. And so my sister and I would always get permission from our mom to just kind of trot right on over to the school and offer to help. So our school year from that point on began in like middle of August, because that continued to be an activity. We loved school. I just loved school. And while I didn't realize it at the time, when I was in college preparing to be a physical therapist, it kind of took me back as I was, kind of going through the steps of learning and the chemistry and physics classes that I was in, and the whole idea of not being related to schooling any longer and kids and learning, even as I was at university level, was scary. And so I then took my little mental trip back to when I was 7 or 8 and thought, you know what? That's what I love is school. Yeah, and I didn't know I was having it.
You know what? I'm going to jump in there with you because I was 6 years old too when I would play with all my dolls when I come home from school and play school every day. So you decided to go into teaching. What grade levels, what part of the teaching education life attracted you most?
So I really enjoyed the secondary level. And so that was where I actually kind of focused. However, I had a major in health education, which did allow me to teach K-12. So I actually started teaching at the university level in health education. But then I also had the opportunity to teach middle school and high school, just some little dabblings of things with English and health education, and actually technology, computer education. Because then I transitioned into being a counselor. I just had this, my dad was a doctor and my mom was a nurse. And so there was this healing part of culture that was involved in my growing up as well. And so the opportunity to kind of blend teaching and working with kids and also kind of helping them along the way in a one-on-one type of setting also had an appeal. So I kind of gravitated towards that as I was able to do a lot in both middle school and high school levels. So, I just really, have a lot of feeling for the students at that level, even though elementary kids are certainly precious and, fun to work with as well. But the life and the energy at the middle school and high school was addictive to me.
Yes, it is addictive. It keeps you young,
It doesn't indeed.
Yes, definitely. So being in the teaching world, was there any cons that you said, oh, I should have gone into physical therapy instead? Like, did you ever that moment?
Yeah, so, I didn't have the moment of wanting to go back into medicine or in the medical field at all. But I did kind of go through this, and it was, I think it was the nature of administration at that time, which was very heavily infused with men, and men who had athletic director experiences. And my dear friend and I decided we wanted to take some administration classes. Wow. And so we did. And the very first night of class, and we live in northern Michigan, so our trek to a higher education class was about 3 hours at the time.
Oh my goodness.
Drive down for the weekend for the class. And so we sat in the first night of class, and afterwards in the hotel room, because we had to, stay then for the rest of the weekend, we just talked late into the night. As we looked around the room, we said, we will be led by these men. Wow. Unless we become one of these administrators. Wow. That the whole, field of administration was very heavily saturated with men, and rightly so. I mean, that's the way it had been. Just was. And so we either had to decide to go along with that, or to become an administrator so that we might impact learning from that, that angle. Yeah. And the con for me was in the teaching profession, that the impact is so incredible at the classroom level and with the individual students in that classroom. In the middle school and high school, you don't have the relationship time with each child because those kids are moving. Yeah. And so the impact to me was not as much feeling like it was on the individual student, although I certainly did believe that I made a difference. But I kind of had this draw towards the organizational structure of learning, how that could impact kids, so that the whole layer of kids who are needy could be taken care of, and how could we lift them up, and how could we facilitate that. And so essentially that's kind of the con turned into a career shift for me.
You reached that point of administration, that you were principal. What was one of the first things that you did once you were at that level?
Right. Well, it took me a while to get a position, Carla, and that was at, really, my first position was a job offer from a neighboring school district to be an elementary principal. And so I had interviewed for a couple of positions, didn't get them because I didn't have experience. Oh. And if that's always interesting. How can you get it if no one will hire you?
Mind-boggling. Yep.
Oh, anyway, I was very clear with him and said, you know what, I don't know that I can do this. I don't really have an affinity towards elementary education. That is not a strength for me. I don't know if I'm going to be the right person. And, he was very gracious and said, Kathy, I want to take a chance on you. I really can do the job, and da-da-da-da-da. So I did for 1 year and 3 months and 2 weeks.
Oh, the exact, you were counting.
So that's right. I totally love it. But for me, the first thing I had to do as an administrator is acquaint myself with the needs and the culture, again, of the elementary school, which was not something with which I had become very familiar. Wow. So it took some time for me to adapt to that learning, and also to, have the conversations with teachers. And so my first connection was obviously with teachers to kind of be able to do that work. And it was tough in that I had to sell them that I had the confidence to do the job. It was a wonderful experience. It was terrific. But I did then have the chance to get back to my home school district as a middle school principal, and then ultimately a high school principal. So that was where my son went to school. So, all kinds of things went into play at that point, but it was that was home.
So I know they say teachers are an awful audience. Like we always tell our kids, you know, pay attention, don't be on your phone. But at meetings, all teachers broke those rules. So it must be so hard to talk to them.
That's right, exactly. I was fortunate to have some, you know, really, really great staffs to work with, and we were truly a team. And the kids and the lifeblood of the schools motivated them as it did me, and so that was, I think, the marriage that worked well for me as an administrator.
So when you were a principal, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest jobs, literally, like overall as professions. I see it as like a doctor, a 24/7 type of job. How would you describe having been a principal as a job? I mean, are you on call basically all the time? Are there a lot of fires you have to put out? What is the job like? It seems a little stressful, actually.
It definitely can be, and you know, it certainly was then, and certainly is now, even more so. But the truth is that when I was working as a principal, I also, you know, had my son in school, and then he ultimately graduated while I was also principal, and so it was home and it was school and it was mixed kind of all together. I was taking doctoral classes, and so I was writing papers in between chaperoning dances and basketball games and popcorn for dinner, and you know, all of those kinds of things. And so it is truly a 24-hour thing. You know, the alarm goes off in the school, and so there's either someone in it or there's, you know, animal or whatever, you know, but you do have to go figure it out. You know, you have to make sure that, especially in our smaller schools, for example, up here, we don't have a lot of extra folks who have those kinds of responsibilities. So yeah, it was definitely, you know, a 24/7 commitment. My most favorite job ever. So I do have to say.
Well, good, because I know we have a lot of people that follow Posh Teacher that want to get into administration. You know, usually that's a lot of teachers, they're curious about what the world is like as an administrator. What qualifications does one need to become a principal? What is the path that if some of these teachers want to find out?
Sure. Well, first, you know, the experience that you have as a teacher in the educational system is helpful. Obviously for, you know, well, actually for obvious reasons, but it also sort of, you know, kind of confirms the understanding that you have of the roles that principals play versus teachers, and kind of how, you know, how you fit within that. And I do think that it has to do with, again, the level of confidence that a teacher has. And you don't really give up your opportunity to have the relationships with kids that you had with high school, or with teaching in the high school and middle school, elementary, whatever the case might be, but it's a different relationship. And it's funny because sometimes, you know, in some of the literature that you read, you're less likable once you're an administrator than when you're a teacher. And you have to be okay with that, because that is true. That's probably very true. And so, you know, it's the adult relationships that sometimes take more of a hit than the relationships with kids. But certainly the classwork, the coursework that you need with, you know, laws and things like, you know, managing students from a disciplinary standpoint, to certain now the impact of our world with respect to, you know, shooter drills and all of those kinds of things. All of those management things need to be dealt with. And whether that's your responsibility as a teacher, or whether it is the responsibility, whether that's your responsibility as a teacher or as an administrator, or if someone else is assigned to do it, you know, those are things that need to be happening. And you just have to be that kind of liaison between the world and all that is happening. I was principal on 9/11, and it's a day I'll never, ever forget.
Oh my gosh.
And in fact, I have kids who remember 9/11 because of things that I said, and
No.
and they've written about it, and it's just, I get chills when I think about it, because I mean, I was totally unaware and of what was, the impact of what was happening. And
Oh my, did you
so
have
you
to
just go
leave
through.
the school? Like, have everyone leave the school, or parents?
No, but we did have parents who chose to come and get their kids, because they weren't sure what was happening. None of us were sure what was going to happen. But, I just was trying to reinforce with kids that, this had happened, because, of course, this was before telephones, phones in classrooms, 9/11.
Yeah.
I had a teacher come and tell me that he had the television on and heard it, and so he wanted me to know. So then I was able to, get caught up on what was going on, because that, again, we didn't have TVs and everything.
Yeah, or your phone beeping to give you the notices. Yeah.
Exactly. But, there's a responsibility for you to be honest with kids, but also to weigh what they can handle and how we can handle that. And also, again, remembering my classroom of the teachers who also were dealing with their own issues and their own concerns and pain and that kind of thing. So, that translation, as I think about education today, and, the types of agony and anguish that principals and teachers are going through right now in planning to return to school and to the classroom,
Yes.
which is what they want for sure, in terms of it being their passion and their that's their calling, but also all of the extraneous issues with which they have to deal, and just all the uncertainty and everything else. And yes, personally, I'm happy that I'm not dealing with those issues, but my heart is,
Yes.
still. I have a granddaughter who is, asking me, Grandma, can you homeschool me? And
No.
that thing, and those are the things that our kids are worried and concerned about, and yet she loves school and everything else that goes along with it. So yeah, it's very tough, but nature has a way.
Yes, give us your advice. What would you say to all of us dealing with this virtual
What I would
learning?
say that you, not so much, Carla, because you're a young, lovely teacher who has a lot of energy and enthusiasm. But when someone gets to be 66 years old, you should be very grateful that you are not dealing with that kind of thing in the classroom. That there's a time and a place for people to move on to another career, maybe, or another adventure that life has in store. But to recognize that there are elements of the world that we don't have control over.
Yeah.
And our ability to manage those, coupled with our age, is not the right mix. And, I know that I've experienced, many teachers have experienced having colleagues who have stayed in the profession for a very, very long time and chosen not to give it up, whether they were an administrator or a principal or a counselor. I guess my thought is to recognize when that time comes.
When it's time to go for a change. Yeah.
And be gracious. And it doesn't have to be the end of a love for what you're doing, but it can be an end for this chapter. And that.
So do you think that maybe this is a moment for some teachers to reflect on, is it my time to transition?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the stress of a lot of them going through, I don't know if it's worth it for them to step into a classroom next month,
Right.
given their age or health concerns.
Exactly.
It's creating a lot of anxiety. So that's good advice. And let's move on to the positive then. And when you said it comes a time when sometimes it's ready to transition, Kathy, what was your transition? So tell us what happened when you left your administrative career.
You cut out in this center there, Carla. So I heard your administrative career, but I didn't hear the thing before that.
Yeah, so tell us when you decided to leave the
Oh,
world of education and you know, what were you transitioned to, and
right, right.
tell us about that.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be able to work with accreditation for a few years
Oh,
after I left the K-12 setting. So
okay.
it gave me a little different exposure, and it gave me the chance to sort of semi-retire from the standpoint of it not being, you know, a teaching or a principal position. It was more of an accreditation. I would go in and out of schools anytime I wanted, basically, and traveled a lot to around the world to visit and accredit schools.
Oh,
So
you went around the world to do accreditation. Kathy, can you explain to our audience what accreditation is? What the, you know, what it is? Yep.
sure, sure. There's a process called accreditation that is validating a school's ability to meet a set of standards. And over the years, accreditation actually has been around for over 100 years. And it has kind of ebbed and flowed in terms of its level of importance with respect to governmental agencies and that kind of thing. But there, I worked for the North Central Association, or Advanced Ed, and it's now Cognia, that does accreditation for schools around the world. And for a while, I was the state director in Michigan.
Wow.
And I led some professional development activities and that kind of thing. But then I also had the chance to be a part of accreditation reviews. And that's what took me around the world, because wherever there's a military installation, there was a need for accreditation. They were an accredited school, just simply by virtue of their being an American school. Basically, they had to.
So you went to the bases where they had the schools, and oh, goodness.
So it was wonderful.
Where did you go? What places did you go to?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to Heidelberg, Germany, and I went to Kaiserslautern, Germany as well, and Shape High School, which was the NATO school in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium.
Oh, nice places.
Went to Spain, which was a naval base, and I went to Guam, and that was lovely. I was in Japan twice, and yeah, so I really was lucky. I was very fortunate. I've been able to serve so that I had that chance as well, and that was fabulous. So that gave me, once again, another kind of adventure with education and another way to look at things. And so then about 5 years ago, I retired from there, and I did some consulting with them for a few years. Then I made a transition that no one's, most importantly, not me, could see coming. And that was that I became an artist for Mascara Beauty, and demonstrate and teach people about makeup, and just have a ball with that. Particularly for people, for example, my age. And it isn't that that's the age group for this makeup, because it's clearly not. My 10-year-old granddaughter wears the lip gloss.
Oh, yes, lip gloss, yay.
But very much a product that people like at all ages. And I guess that's the point, is that as we age, and as we move on in our adventures, it doesn't change our need or our interest in being the best that we can. And, you know, I always consider a quote by the famous old coach, Vince Lombardi: when you cease getting better, you cease being good. So it's kind of in that good to great thing that, you know, whether it's the way I exercise, the way I read, the way I learn, or the way I choose to run a business for the first time in my life.
Wow.
It's just, it's always trying to stay active and to try and help people, try and help somebody else feel the confidence and be inspired to greatness, no matter what their age and no matter what the work that they're doing. So
Oh, how exciting. Just another adventure, because you're definitely very adventurous. Talked about even how we present ourselves and our appearance. Do you think what you wear, how you look is important for teachers, whether it be in the classroom or at school? Do you think that makes a difference in their world? What are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely do. And we live, as I mentioned, in northern Michigan, and we have a high rate of poverty in our area. We're a tourist mecca, which is great, but that is not a permanent residence for most people. That, people come and go. So we, as the teachers, the educators, are the role models for the kids in our schools here. And again, helping them see that, there is a need for us to, put our best foot forward and to make sure that we have our, our best attire, comfortable in whatever that we need to be, but just to kind of demonstrate to them that no matter what we're wearing, we take pride and are confident about what it is that we're doing. And so I just believe that that is so important. And when I left I'll never forget this, when I left the elementary school to go to the middle school, the kids all wrote on various posters what they will miss most about Mrs. Sargent. And the answer was, she always wears dresses, and I love that. And I thought, my gosh, that's something special, and if she didn't get anything else out of anything that I did, I am glad that for her, it was special, and she loved that I always wore dresses.
Oh my goodness. And something you probably never realized, that someone's watching that, right? They're noticing that.
Right. Exactly. That is exactly right.
So,
But in some we do make a difference in everything we say and everything we do and what we look like and how we react. And so I truly believe that. And that doesn't end when we stop our formal work career. So yeah, but that is important. And I also felt like it was important for my teachers that I also had a code of my own dress.
right.
That was very important to me, and that I tried to elevate the
Standard or
dress culture, the ways teachers all came to work, because that's the most important thing in the kids' lives, are the people who stand in front or in back or on the side of those students in the classroom. And how we look matters.
wow, powerful. And see, people usually say, "Oh no," but it does. They're noticing every day. Well, gosh, thank you for sharing that, because really believe in that. Um, how we present ourselves is so important. Well, so speaking of how we present ourselves, doing our makeup, Kathy, you said that, so you're an artist for Mascara. What's your life like? What do you do with the business? What's the
Right.
process? Yes, tell us about your business, Mascara.
So Mascara is a brand of makeup that has been around for a whole 3 years. It's very, very new.
Baby.
And what is very, very fun about it is that our CEO and founder, Kara Brooks Kilpatrick, she and her husband are foster parents and also have children of their own. But there is a percentage of the proceeds from the makeup, from the tins of foundation that you just shared, that go to the Foster Children's Association. And so there is, you know, a contributory component to what we do, not to mention what we do for the people that we serve. But so I started out being a customer of Mascara for about a month. And interestingly enough, I was kind of inspired by one of my former students who was in school. And so we have a lot of fun these days when I introduced her as my mentor, and I was her principal when she graduated from high school. So
that's so cool.
Kind of fun how that happened. So anyway, it's a cream-based makeup, which is it's novel, it's different.
Yeah.
And so that's something that people, you know, kind of are interested in. It's very natural looking. And basically it's mostly done online. That is an example of a lip and cheek, which is a combination of blush and lipstick.
I'm wearing that today. It's your Tropicana.
Tropicana, one of my faves. That's why you have that one, Carla. I wanted you to have it.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, I love it.
It's and so it's just there are tins that fit into a compact, and so it's very easy to carry and very easy to great. And it just provides a great opportunity for people to have their makeup in a small container like that, compact, that can go in a backpack or a purse and they're magnetic, so they stick. And it's all basically online, which has made it a very powerful business to be involved in through the coronavirus, because
we've all been shopping online. That's all
exactly. And so I do online parties through Facebook, through Instagram. There are some people who do, you know, things like in-person art fairs and, you know, craft shows and that kind of thing with it too. But that not so much right now, of course, but it just is a great experience. It's a great product, and it's really fun.
Yeah, tell us about the product if people want to know, you know.
It's a very clean product, and there is a lot of information that kind of confirms that. Relatively speaking, with others, it's, you know, animal free and, you know, paraben free, gluten free.
Oh, it's paraben free. That's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. And the brushes are double-ended brushes.
Oh, they're beautiful. Yeah, I should have brought mine today. Beautiful.
And yeah, so the product is meant to be very light, and it's meant to bring out the beauty that a person has already in their face, as opposed to covering it up. A lot of times our makeup over the years has become something that is, you know, we matte down our face and think that is, you know, the look that we want. Certainly there are places on our face we want to minimize, and we want to be able to do some coverage, but overall we want to be able to bring out the beauty that is there, and not look like someone else, but look like true self, and have that kind of stay with us for the day, and then be able to do a touch up if we want to, but just have it not take hours to do. You know, that's the ability for us to do this in 10 minutes is amazing.
How do you have customers that have been they love their powdery kind of products? I know, you know, my blush is powdery.
Yes.
How do you help them transition into a cream-based product?
Sure.
What do you tell them?
Well, it's there are some powder products, but one of the things that when I work with ladies who are older, that powder is not a friend to our faces as we develop wrinkles. And so the cream is a much better product to use because of that. But there are illuminators that are powder that really enhance, and there's different sparkly kinds of illuminators and different colors. So there is an ability to use some powder. And sometimes people are used to setting their makeup with powder, and that can still happen. We have a product called Vanilla Dust that does set makeup so that it doesn't give a too shiny, but it does give a dewy finish, a dewy glow. That's what we like to encourage and have people know. And so that is something that, you know, we kind of have that we use on a regular basis in terms of promoting the idea of powder. But we also, you know, sometimes people need to gradually move into it. And so things like the lip and cheek colors can be added to an already existing routine that people have. And so that allows people to sort of, you know, gradually kind of move in. We do a color match for people. We ask people to provide us with a makeup-free selfie.
Yes, I remember Kathy had me send a songs makeup picture, which was a little unnerving. And
very
so
vulnerable.
but
Absolutely.
I guess you really need to see the fresh face to make your analysis. Is that
Exactly. And then we are able to provide color, a highlight and a brightener is basically what we sort of prescribe, if you will. And that is worth a try. And we have a 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. So if for some reason people are unhappy with it, or they can't adjust as all of us would have liked or whatever, there is a money-back guarantee, and there's also a color exchange. So, you know, if we need to, you know, kind of swap out colors, we can definitely do that. So
you're flexible. Yeah, because makeup can be a little challenging for people. It's kind of trial and error at times. So
exactly. And Carla, the time of year makes a difference. You know, right? Tend to be having a little more color in our face. So sometimes people do what we call shade up, which is a little darker shade that they use during the summer. And then coming into September, October, as we lose that, then we kind of go back. Because again, it's not about covering or making us a different color. It's about, you know, highlighting and bringing forward the beauty, the color that we have. So
I love that. And the confidence, then we'll have confidence in our classroom with our beautiful makeup.
Right. That's right. And that's the name of my group. My little Facebook group is called Choose Confidence. And
good work.
That theme for me that has just always kind of been there for me. But yeah, it's great. And
how many
so
people do you have, Kathy? Do you have a lot of people in your group? What or your team?
I do. I have over 50 in my group. I just ranked up to an ambassador last month, which was just beyond my help. But so that's been great. And it's funny, I just had a colleague of mine that I worked with tell me in a little message in Facebook that his wife wants to know more about it. So
great.
You know, they see little snippets outside of my group that, you know, sometimes I'll put in just my regular Facebook just because it's something that I'm doing, and just to kind of let everyone know. But so that was something he was responding to. So that was kind of, you know, that he had promoted it with his wife, and she's like, yeah, I want to look.
Yeah. So you never know where the next customer will come from.
We don't, for sure. But yeah.
Great. Well, Kathy, if someone wants to get your products, what's the process? Do they go online, or explain to our posh teachers out there, how can they get your product?
Great. All right. Posh teachers. I love it. So the way that mascara is spelled is Maskcara. So there you go. There's the little card that comes in with the products so that people know, have kind of a little cheat sheet about what works from an eyeshadow perspective, or whatever product there is. So the name on Facebook is Kathy Sargent. You can seek me out.
Yeah. We'll put it in the comments below. People can click on it.
Perfect. That'll be great. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I would welcome that. And I think teachers need to have a lot of pride in what they do, because we work very, very hard. And I think all of the shortcuts we can get are worth it. And there's a skincare line too. I didn't even mention skincare line with a milk base out of the Midwest. Milk from the Midwest, basically. And there's it all started at a farmer's house with this milk scientist that Kara knew, and a great story there. But so that's another thing, that if nothing else, and we have a men's line of milk products too.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of male teachers out there too, so they
do. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Thank you for sharing your other life. Kathy, is there any last words or quote or anything you want to leave our POSH teachers with?
I will tell you that the hardest day of the year always for me is the first day of school. And that is still a big thing for me, because I just loved the looks on the faces of the kids. It would be a rainy day for the start of school, so those floors would get scuffed up beyond belief after that first day, for sure. But just whether those kids were seniors, 17 years old and seniors, or whether they were 6 and kindergartners, that was just the anticipation of what a new school year can bring is an incredible high that I don't think we can describe. We can't describe it from our own experiences. We can't describe it for our kids, tell our kids, but we can notice it and observe it when we look in their faces that first day, because those faces are about as shiny as they're going to be too. I always thought it was great that as teachers we had 2 New Years. We had New Year's Day in August and September to kind of, regroup and make sure that we were able to make a New Year's resolution then. And then we had the chance to revisit it on January 1st. But I always think that great resolve, that you have a new start, you have a new chance. And so take advantage of that new chance. And I know it's going to be scary this year. I know that. But that makes our jobs even harder, because we've got to try and overcome that fear for the kids that we see every day too. Absolutely. And there's great power in technology. I'm here to tell you, there's great power in learning remotely with the right guidance and the right support.
Thank you so much for being on our channel today. And it was a true honor. You're filled with wisdom. It's wonderful. And thank you for making us look good in your makeup. And so thank you so much for being on POSH Teachers. Thank you. Bye-bye.